There is a storm coming. Hurricane Helene will be blowing through here, but that's not the storm I'm talking about. I'm talking about a bigger, more destructive storm that's coming our way if we don't do something about it. We might can avert some of this, but a lot of the damage is already done. Just like the last storm that blew through here while I was away to Arizona moving some of my stuff, which blew over this grand pine tree behind me. Guys, we got worse things coming, and they will wreak damage upon our country. And we're talking about the excessive growth of governance. The government is too big already, in my humble opinion, and it's about to probably get much bigger. How much can we handle? The government exists at the expense of the private sector, at the expense of your wallet book and the future wallet books of your kids, generations to come, as we pass debt down. How long can we do this? My friends, the government chokes freedom. It chokes the economy. We're going to talk about 12 different ways the government spending chokes the economy. But guys, we're talking about large bloated government. We're talking about socialism. We're talking about potential communism. Some people are even afraid of such craziness as that. So don't take it for granted, guys, because, as I said, the government chokes the private sector. It exists from taxpayer money. It exists from money taken from corporations, from the economy. However you slice or dice it, they take their money from the economy and spend it very inefficiently. So let's get into these 12 ways, then we'll talk about it a little bit more globally. For example, all right, 1, excessive public debt. As we know, government spending tends to rack up a lot of debt because they don't want to spend just the money they can bring in. Yeah, so we wind up with a potential physical crisis somewhere down the road from this debt that continues to pile up. Right now, how do we deal with this mountain of debt we have in the United States, which is going through the astronomical roof? And then 2, tax burden. Well, to pay for all this government spending, besides running up debt, they increase taxes. And they claim they're always going to pay down the debt with the taxes. Well, they're not going to do that. So the tax burden becomes astronomical. They're trying to tax more and more and more stuff every year. They're just taxing us to death. 3, and this is kind of what really gets me at heart here, is inefficient allocation of resources. By misallocating our resources, we know our bureaucracy is inefficient, and it's not set up like companies. Companies have to be efficient, but see, the government doesn't have to be. It doesn't have the requirements to be. Survival does not depend on efficiency. Its survival depends on the political whims of them that vote, as long as it can afford to run up debt and do the crazy things that some governments like ours is doing right now. Think about this. When I was in the Army, for example, and I would go to a clerk and say, hey, I need this paperwork to go through because I've got to move to another post. I just got orders. I got to go next week. Well, they'd put your paperwork on their filing cabinet and says, well, when I get around to it, it's like, I got to go. It says, no, your need is not my problem. You're not a customer. When it comes to government, you are not a customer. You are a problem. When you go to government for services, they don't give a flip. Like I said, you're the problem. You're not the customer. That's a terrible thing. But the government does not allocate resources efficiently. They do it according to bureaucratic priorities. And it's very inefficient. There's no efficiencies at all in the system. So that means the cost of government services are astronomically higher than it would be otherwise. So think about that. That's one reason our public debt is so absolutely high. And then we get over-regulation. They want to tell you everything to do because big governments are big nanny states. There's more money in being a nanny state. You got to do this and you got to do that. You can't do this. No. You can't do that. It's excessive regulations choke businesses. The red tape really hinders business. No kidding. And it stifles competition. So over-regulation, businesses champ about it all the time. Some regulation is important, but they get way over. I tell you what, honestly, if you had to pick between big government and no regulation, I think we'd be better off with no regulation or self-regulation, or let the people in the market choose who they support and who they vote for with their dollars, rather than have the government tell us what to do, because it's costing so much from the government's end. They get so power hungry with their regulatory powers that we're all in trouble. So the other thing is corruption and cronyism. Yes, corruption and cronyism. Because guys, we know darn well that companies are favored quite often by the government. The government has different entities in the government, different branches, different senators. They got their own favorite pet little companies, the ones that support them, and they got their own little favorite pet individuals that they send money to. So, you know, imagine that. Well, there's very little checks and balances. In fact, when they push these big omnibus bills through, there's so much stuff in them, they push them through so late. So, oh, we got to support it. We have to put money in this. Oh, or the government will fall apart. The government's going to fall apart anyway. So why not just let it go ahead and do it? Oh my gosh, guys. So this cronyism, of course, favors some businesses over others and disrupts the market. A lot of things the government does is disruptive to what would be a true capitalist market. Some people are always telling us, oh, capitalism has failed, it don't work. We don't have capitalism, we have crony capitalism, we have corporatism, which is dominated by our over bloated bureaucratic government. Okay, inflationary pressures. Now, again, spending a lot of money is very inflationary. All this government spending does jack up prices big time. It's overstimulating the economy. But the worst thing is, it's just the debt and the interest on the debt. How do you keep carrying that? We have to go back to that. How do you keep carrying that as a country? And you know what happened to the Weimar Republic? The Weimar Republic had runaway inflation because of government spending. And why have we avoided? Well, that's not true. We've been good in the United States. Well, in the United States, we've been good, thankfully, because we've had the world's reserve currency, thanks to deals like petrodollar, which aren't going away now. And now with the BRICS doing everything they can to undermine the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency, how long do you think that's going to last? Do you want to bank on that? Can we continue to just bloat government bigger and bigger and bigger? Well, some people think so, and apparently some of the polls for the so-called favored parties coming forward seem to indicate that might be the case. Anyway, so, well, we have also reduced economic competitiveness. Well, that should be a no-brainer, considering the government's putting their finger in the choices of who gets what. And so this protects inefficient industries when the government is favoring certain industries over the others. Economic competitiveness, the key to capitalism, goes out the window. So, and we get a private sector that's just weak, a weak private sector. Why? Because the crowded private sector is diminishing. The crowded out private sector is diminishing entrepreneurship. And there's like no incentives to produce with the kind of economy, the bloated government that we're talking about. I mean, when you think about it. I mean, just overall, just kind of stepping aside from these points, guys, the deal is that when you have a government that favors, kind of stepping aside from my 12 points, we're about halfway through at 8. When you have a government that favors taxing people on being productive and giving money to people that aren't productive, and especially as those taxes get higher and the money they're putting out to the non-productive also gets higher, what's that incentivize people to do? Sit on the couch. Or that might be great and fun for the people who are sitting on the couch until such point as the economy just totally goes bankrupt, which is what will happen eventually, because the economy is not efficient. It's not producing. When you reward the non-producers, you don't get producing. The economy is based on producing, and our economy is not producing. We're sucking money off the future by running up debt and buying cheap stuff from overseas, which isn't going to be cheap anymore. We're wiping out our ag here in this country with over-regulation. We're going to be in big trouble. All right, let's go back to this. Now, here's one you would not expect. You would think this would be the opposite. Inefficient social services. Yeah, with too much focus on expanding government's roles in essential social services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure, they may actually become more inefficient because they're poorly managed, and that is harming long-term economic development. Yeah, The big government manages everything very poorly. And the bigger it is, the more poorly it manages it. And then this one, moral hazard. This is number 10. Think about moral hazard. Government bailouts for failing companies or sectors of the economy can create a moral hazard where businesses just take it for granted that they're going to be bailed out. So they take excessive risk. Because, well, we're going to get bailed out. The government's going to bail us out. Now, when have we heard of that happen? Banking, some of your auto industries, bailed out by the government over and over and again, tens of billions of dollars, airline industries, because they're too big to fail. Really? Too big to fail? What's failing? It's putting our whole economy at risk. 11, dependence on public sector employment. What's the public sector? It's sucking money from tax money. It's sucking money from our economy. The government does not produce. It consumes. It's a vampire. The empire of the vampire is the government. It sucks the economy dry. So if you got public jobs, I hear all these people talking about Washington. Oh, we got all these many jobs here. We got jobs. Things are booming. Yeah, because you're living on borrowed money and borrowed time. That's why you're booming. It ain't going to be booming long. It'll be booming and blowing boom up. Guys, it don't work. Not for the long term. We've been able to borrow for a while. We've been able to make it kind of stitch together, but the wheel's about to come off the train, my friends. The gravy train is about to derail. So this whole idea that private sector jobs are great, no. We need public sector jobs because they're the ones that actually produce. And it's the producing that produces the economy, things, services. All the government does is redistribute. You need somebody actually producing something to be, if it's to be redistributed, somebody's got to be making it. Somebody's got to be providing it. But the government don't do that. They suck and take from others. That's how it works. So, think about this. The labor market's inflexible when you have a large public sector. It really distorts capitalism, like all these other things I've been talking about. So, finally, number 12, slow economic growth. Oh, yeah. Because oversized government grows at the expense of the private sector, like I've been saying all along. And it decreases productivity, and it makes for less efficient capital, the expense of money. So what do you expect, guys? That's what's happened. You get that kind of stuff out of overblown government. I mean, think about it. The government is a vampire. The government sucks your tax money. It sucks your future because they're not just satisfied to have the money that they can tax from you, but they want to borrow against the future. That's what the government does. So, is that what you want? You tell me. Let's look talking. Nice fine walnut tree over there. Y'all asked for more walks in the woods. Well, this is the one I've been planning to talk for a while. But with a storm coming, I thought this was an interesting time to talk about a storm a-coming. And that's the storm of economic devastation due to overgrowth of the government. Now, this pine tree was blown over by the storm, as I said. It came in when I was in Arizona. And my barn got burnt, and a vehicle of mine got stolen, amongst other things. So it was a pretty stormy time here. So stormy, when you look at this, where the heck did this tree come from? Where's the stump from which it was blown? Maybe it's way up in the air here. Maybe it just got snapped up here somewhere. There it is. Wow. Look at this, guys. This big old tree, this is probably a 100-foot tall tree, got snapped way up there. Snapped and thrown down. Just like our economy will get from oversized government. Now, guys, some of you guys some of these Facebook so-called friends of mine who are from certain other gardening sectors and space sector. They're for socialism. When I post something that's not for socialism, they get all bent out of shape. Got a mosquito on my finger. Skeeter on my finger. There's a critter den. We got a lot of them out. So, pardon the finger. So, guys, if socialism were so great, why is all the socialistic countries that's had it for a long time struggling? Why are some of them getting rid of it? It's hard to get rid of. Very difficult to get rid of. The French president, the Argentine president, Milei, fortunately, is revamping the Argentine economy. The Argentinians just got sick of the socialism they had, and they just overall rebelled at the polls. That's the best way to do it. Hope we can have that option in the not too distant future. Unfortunately, there's been some movements with the UN that I'm going to talk about over on my sister channel, Silverhead News, that you're going to have to watch. I'm going to put that up probably tonight after this video, hopefully. You're going to have to watch that, guys. You need to know what's going on there. I'll save that for that video. But it's going to be harder and harder to get out of these socialistic entrapments. They're trying to make it that way. And they're trying to use the UN to help enable them to do that. So pay attention, guys. How you vote this season is going to be very important, but it's not just voting now. We got to take some immediate action. I'll be talking about over there. Anyway, I'll just turn the camera around here. See a huckleberry bush right there. That's a huckleberry bush. I'll put this back on one or something close to it. So, greenbrier, edible. But you don't want to eat the old dried dark green leaves like that. There's another huckleberry bush, guys. These make sometimes they're loaded up some years. A lot of years they don't make. Magnolia. So my friends, you need to learn your wild edibles. When the economy goes crazy, wild grapes, straight leaves are edible. Sassafras, see that almost French looking, what, Fro de Lure, what do you call it, leaf. The roots make tea, root beer. There's a lot of stuff around here that one can chomp on if you need to. I see these grape leaves all across the forest floor here. What you don't see, that you used to see here, is my old worm beds. I still got the remnants of 3. I take the tops off. I'm going to use the tops for roof in Arizona. I'm going to clean this place up. My workers put paper plates out for the worms to eat, and I guess they didn't put them all out and they didn't eat them all. I dug some worm castings out of these 2 trenches where I used to have worm beds and put them in a trailer, which did not make it to Arizona. It didn't survive. It snapped twice, actually. Here was another worm bed. Now this one still got castings. This is a 3rd worm bed, was right here. In fact, you can see concrete right here. Spent a lot of money putting this stuff in, guys. It's gone. All the sled beds that used to be out there, gone. I got 10 left, but they're all 10 in Arizona. None are here anymore. So Green Graves Worm Farm, what's left of it, either belongs to my cousin, someone else, or is in Arizona. So I guess the only part that's still Green Greg's is the part that's in Arizona. My cousin got the bulk of it. And my cousins will be launching a worm business here soon. I'm not going to sell nationally anymore. They seem to want to do that, so I'll help them out. Anyway, this was all worm beds. This whole road here had worm beds lined up and down it. The worm beds were lined up around there, sled beds, all gone. So, anyway, that's part of the problem. Too much socialism. You don't get people that want to work. And when you're working day jobs and having to hire other people, it used to make sense, some sense to do that. If you had an economic enterprise or good idea, but when people are paid, sit on their fannies, they don't want to work. Or they don't have as much incentive to work if they're getting money from the government. So what happens? You can't hardly run a business anymore. That's part of it, guys. Economic competitiveness, economic potentials crash. Economies crash, just like my barn up here. They burn up. It's not what burnt my barn, but it's a sad sight to see. So guys, I highly encourage you guys to do everything you can to strive to maintain freedom in our country. Economic freedom and freedom of your rights as individuals. You can check out my Freedom Restoration Foundation website, freedomrestorationfoundation.org. We haven't posted anything in a while. I've been so darn busy. But hopefully we'll get back to that. Sad to see. But anyway, guys, that's my reality now. Burnt the handles off my wheelbarrow and the tire. Crazy. I went way out to here. So, there you are, my friends. Let's hope our economy don't wind up looking like my barn. That is what we want to avoid, right? Oh yeah, barrel halves through here. The worm farm is gone. This was my processing facility. Did not expect this part to be gone, but she is. All right, my friends, so take care, share my videos, and look tonight for a posting on Silverhead News. I hope you get something up on there about this UN thing. Maybe I'll come on live later tonight. I don't know. But I'm going to say thank you for watching. Greg out.